Hi there, and welcome to the next installment of the Primrose Garden Block of the Month. It's hard to believe, but we are on month 4 already, and this month we are making this lovely block right here. It's called Stars and Pinwheels, and apparently I really like this block because I actually just did the same block in my Stitch Along group, Stitching Among Friends, and I didn't even realize it until last week that it was the same block we're doing this month. So if you did that Stitch Along, you've got a little head start on how to make this block. But let's go ahead and take a look at all the different pieces and how this block comes together. So once again this month we are going to be making 2 matching blocks. So we'll be making 2 of the Stars and Pinwheel blocks. And again, the cutting is done here for both blocks, so you'll just do the cutting one time. Then we're going to start off by making half square triangles again. Now we did that the last 2 months, so I think you guys should be pretty confident in making those by now. The only thing I do want to point out is that one of the fabrics in the block this month is the Cream Plus Signs. And the Cream Plus Signs has 2 different sides to it. There's not necessarily a right or a wrong side, but you probably want to pick one side and use it consistently throughout the block at least. So this side here has the plus signs on it, and that's kind of what I consider the right side. But the other side has sort of a square pattern on it, and that works too. If you like that one better, go ahead and use that. So you're going to start off by making 4 sets of half square triangles so that you end up with 8 of those. And again, they're oversized, and you're going to trim them with your Tucker trimmer ruler, just like we've done the last few months. Then the next unit that we're going to make is the Flying Geese unit. And we are going to make these 4 at a time. They are going to be oversized, and we're going to trim them down. The ruler that I like to trim them down with is the Wing Clipper ruler. Right there is the Wing Clipper ruler, and we do sell those at the shop. But I did give you the directions on how to make these 4 at a time, so you can trim them down with any ruler you want, but I'm going to show you how to trim them with this ruler today. So when you make 4 at a time geese, in this block, we are going to start with a large square of cream. So there's my Cream Plus sign fabric. I'm going to start with a large square of that, and then I actually start off with 4 matching blue squares. And if you've never done this before, it looks kind of funny and it seems weird at first, but it works out, and it's my favorite way to make flying geese, and it does work out. So you start off by placing 2 of the squares on top of the cream square. And for the wing clipper, if we're gonna make them oversized, I like to scoot those in just a little bit so that you see there's a little bit of cream showing at the top and at the bottom. Okay, then I'm gonna draw a diagonal line from corner to corner, and you can see I've already sewn a 1/4 inch on either side of that diagonal line. Okay, the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna cut down the middle of that. And you know what, we can go ahead and do that right now. So you'll see just what it looks like. So I'm gonna cut right down the middle, and then I'm gonna take these to my ironing board, and I'm gonna press up towards the triangles so that I get 2 heart shapes like this. Okay, and remember, we started with 4 blue squares, so we still have 2 more blue squares to play with. So there's my 2 heart shapes. And now I'm gonna take those remaining blue squares, and I'm gonna place them on top of my heart shapes so they look like this. And again, if I'm using the wing clipper and I'm doing these oversized, I like to scoot these in just a tiny bit. It just gives you a little more at the point when you're trimming. So I've scooted the square in just a tiny bit so there's a little cream there. I drew a diagonal line down the center, and then I sew a 1/4 inch on either side of that diagonal line. And you can probably start to see how this is gonna open up and be my 2 flying geese there, and my other heart shape is gonna make 2 more flying geese. So cut down the center there. I'll take these to my ironing board again, and I will press up towards the triangle so that I get my flying geese. Okay, then the last step, of course, is to trim them with your wing clipper ruler. Now when you do this, I'm gonna try to do it so you can see it, but I'm a little upside down here. You are actually going to start with, let's see, you're gonna start with the V pointing down towards you, and your ruler would go like this. Now I love this ruler because there are lines that are gonna line up right there in my seams. Okay, and I can see here, this is the box I'm gonna end up trimming it to. that I have my whole point there. So I'm not gonna cut off any goose beaks. My geese are all gonna be flying straight. So I'm gonna start by trimming up the side and across the top. And I do need to turn it around to do that for you. All right, so hold it in place there, up the side, across the top. Now, when I turn the unit around, now it's going to sit inside of this box that says 2.5 by 4.5. That's our cut size. And there's this nice little like rooftop peak here that sits right in that point so that I can make sure that I'm not gonna lose my goose beak. Let me turn it this way so you guys can see it the right way, hopefully. All right, so there again, I'm starting off by looking at this box, and then I'm gonna double check that that little point is right where it's supposed to be so that I don't lose the tip of my flying goose. So then I'll trim up again. I'll go up the side and across the top. And you end up with you can see you're not trimming off a whole lot, but it's enough that my goose turns out really nice and sharp. So I've got my point, my 1/4 inch is perfect there. These all kind of go right where they're supposed to go, and ta-da. So you're gonna do 2 sets of those to make a total of 8 flying geese, 4 for each block. And then the last unit that we're gonna make for this block is the 1/4 square combination unit. Let me just look at my notes again. Yep, the 1/4 square combination unit, which looks something like this. This is my 1/4 square combination unit that I have not trimmed down yet. So to start with these, you actually are gonna be cutting squares that you're gonna cross cut diagonally twice so that you end up with little triangles like so. Now the thing that you have to be careful of when you're making these is you need to make sure that all of the ones you make go the same way. So you've got the yellow on this side and the brown on this side. It's very easy to mix them up and make some the other way. It doesn't really matter which way you make them, but you want to make sure that they're all the same or your pinwheel will not spin in the center of that block. So this is how I did them. And one of my tips for that is when I make these, when I put them together to sew, I always put the light piece on top, and when you send it through your machine, you're gonna send the flat edge through first. So if you always keep the light on top, they always end up the same. So that's my helpful tip for that. Put the light on top always. And you are going to make a total of 8 sets of these guys. So you'll get 8 sets of those, 4 for each block. And then you are gonna have some blue 1/2 square triangles that you're gonna sew onto the bottom. And then it will look like this. Now, a couple things to be careful about when you are making this unit. When you sew this last blue triangle, you are sewing on the bias. So just be careful, don't tug on it or pull on it and let your feed dogs really pull it through the machine for you. Also, because they're oversized and the math is not exact, you can see on mine it doesn't quite match up. And that's fine because we are gonna trim it down so that it's perfect. So again, don't tug at this to try to get it to match those first 2 triangles. Just let your machine pull it through, press out towards the blue, and then we are gonna trim that with our Tucker trimmer ruler again. The same one that we were trimming the 1/2 square triangles with. And I love using this ruler for a unit like this because you get to use both diagonals and really find the center there. So we are trimming this to 2.5. It's a 2-inch finished unit. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. So here is my main diagonal, which I'm gonna match up with one of the seams. And then I've got this second diagonal here that matches up with the second seam. And I can find and make sure that my center mark there is right where those 2 lines meet. So you'll center that up just perfectly. Trim your first 2 sides, spin the block around. And again, you can see I'm not trimming off a lot, but I'm trimming off enough that everything that wasn't matching up before is matching up just fine now. So again, now I'm putting it inside that 2.5-inch box. My main diagonal is right here. My other diagonal is there. They meet in the middle. right where they're supposed to, up the side, across the top, and I didn't do across the top very well there. Sorry, I'm not used to trimming in my dining room on my short dining room table, but I think you guys get the point. If you are doing a better job, that should line up just right there. And voila, you have your quarter square combination unit. And again, you are making 8 of these. They will go together to make a pinwheel in the center. And I'll just show you that on the pattern. So when you're assembling this little guy, you're gonna put those 4 quarter square combination units together to form a pinwheel. There are pressing directions there. And then once you have your pinwheel, then you'll be ready to sew the whole block together. It's gonna go into 3 rows first, with the pinwheel being in the center row. Again, follow the arrows for pressing, and then you'll sew those 3 rows together. And that last seam I did press open, just because there was a lot of kind of points meeting up there with the flying geese and such. So that is it for your month 4 blocks. Make those 2, keep stitching away. Next month we've got 2 more pieced blocks, and then in month 6 we will tackle those applique borders. So if you haven't finished your applique from month 1, now's the time to kind of buckle down, and I would try to get that applique finished up in the next couple of months here. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me at the shop or send me an email to katie@peacefulgathering.com. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'd love to see your progress. So feel free to share pictures of that as well. Thanks, guys. Bye.